Good afternoon. Let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Satya Tripathi. I head the Global Alliance for a Sustainable Planet. I'm also a trustee at Water Unite. So I'm representing Water Unite as much as I'm representing the Global Alliance for a Sustainable Planet. In this conversation, a warm welcome to all of you. We're talking today about scaling innovations for people and planet. As we know, for those of us in this room and around this COP conversation, those of us who care enough to realize that time is running out on us. Whether we are corporates, whether we are civil society, whether we are governments, time is running out for people. And if we feel responsible, it should worry us a lot. And water is at the heart and center of that conversation. We're dead without water. So one of the innovations that we can bring to bear on the conversation, how can we scale? Because sometimes, we often talk endearingly about how a pilot worked out wonderfully well. Pilots don't fail because we throw a lot of grant money at it. But pilots don't scale. Because once you've done with the grant money, it doesn't work anymore. Because you have to have a business case for pilots to succeed at a scale that actually matters for people and planet. So in that, Water Unite does tremendously useful work, and I don't want to use any hyperbole because I represent the organization here, so I want to be as close to facts as possible. We've done very humble things in different parts of the world, but we are finally breaking new ground. And we are now getting into that phase where we leverage private finance for public good at grand scale. And so that's, I think, is a very welcome thing that we, the trustees, when we meet and we discuss, we are extremely delighted that we are, getting into that phase where actually all the hard work that Water Unite has done in the last few years is finally coming to bear fruit. And who better than to talk about it than our partner from the USDFC, and we've just stitched together a very meaningful partnership with them, and it's only going to get better because as we start implementing, and we go from proof of concept to proof of application, from proof of application to proof of scale. I certainly hope that at some point of time we'll be talking system scale transitions and transformative actions. So I'm going to, with that, let me invite our friend from USDFC to kindly come and open the session. And then, of course, we'll then go on to our panel and our conversation. So I'm just a little constrained by comments.
Thank you so much for that warm welcome and for having me here. So I am Aparna Shrivastava. I'm the Deputy Chief Climate Officer of the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation. It's a lot of words there, but you can think of us as the U.S. government's development bank. We're mandated to partner with private sector entities that are addressing development challenges. Climate is the key priority that we have been working towards over the last several years. And you cannot talk about water without talking about climate. You cannot talk about climate without talking about water, ultimately. I think of water and the wash space in particular, as kind of my first professional love. I started in the international development space for several years, specifically on actually not on the water side, but specifically on sanitation and hygiene, and kind of the other side of that coin. Anyways, I'm pleased to be giving remarks here today. I think, as I mentioned, with how DFC operates, our mandate is specifically to partner with private sector entities. And what that means is that we cannot offer, we do not have any grants available. While we might have some concessional terms, we offer loans, we offer equity, we offer political risk insurance, we offer guarantees. And what that means in the water sector is that it has been challenging, right? Water provisions have typically been something that is considered to be covered by public sector, and so that the need for more innovative models, the need for more kind of public-private partnerships is really quite essential to how we are able to engage in this space. Our wash portfolio as DFC is growing, and I'd say one of the key ways that we have identified for DFC to really scale our work in this space is financing through financial intermediaries. It's really kind of working with financial institutions that can then go on to lend to small and medium enterprises, because often it is maybe more smaller tickets and compared to maybe some of the larger infrastructure credit lines that we are able to offer. And I think the other thing that is quite important to center in how we're thinking about kind of water-related investments is also how we're thinking about kind of broader nature-based solutions. And I'll talk just really quickly in terms of some of the biggest ticket deals that we have been able to commit in that space are through innovative models using our political risk insurance. The offer of our political risk insurance has enabled the close of multiple debt for nature swap transactions, and that's a little bit different than what maybe the panel might cover regarding more corporate involvement in these. But the instruments that we have been able to close in these debt for nature swap transactions, they have been able to basically refinance sovereign debt that countries like Belize and Ecuador have been burdened with, and refinance them in a way that is actually unlocking private capital and unlocking public budgets to then go towards conservation efforts. And those conservation efforts have then also included efforts in the water and sanitation space, for example, in coastal mangrove restoration, and kind of a wide range of nature-based opportunities. I'd say, just to keep things short, for DFC, we are really, really excited about partners like Water Unite and about partners like, for example, Sanergy and a wide range of other actors that are really thinking about innovation and finance when it comes to WASH. As I mentioned, our hands are very much tied in the types of financing that we can provide. And so what we really are looking for is innovative partners that can help our investment officers really kind of come to the table with maybe what are more conventional tools to really scale our impact. In terms of numbers, we as the climate office in DFC, we are very new. We did not exist before this administration, so we only joined. Our office kind of came into creation in 2021 with the start of the Biden administration. And I'll just share 2 data points that I think for me are really quite important, and for us really lay the groundwork of how we're thinking about the WASH space. So when we joined, DFC was only committing roughly $400 to $500 million a year in climate-linked investments. And this year at COP, we are announcing $3.7 billion in investments. Now, only a smaller fraction of that is in the water space, but what that growth has enabled us to really think about is the potential for DFC to continue to scale across more impactful sectors, such as water and sanitation, just recognizing the underpinning importance that it plays across all of its stages. So I'll leave it with that, but I'm also open. I think I'm supposed to also be here for questions if there are any.
So we'll stand here so that the pavilions are nice, but the space allocated is so little that sometimes it gets very difficult. But I'll stand here. That's all right. And thank you, Aparna. It is very important that we acknowledge the amazing work that USDFC is doing, and I'll share why. Many years ago, I was instrumental in pulling together an investment that unlocked a project of $400 million. This is the year 2017. It was in Indonesia. It was a partnership with Michelin, the tire company, BNP Paribas, the bank, and we were trying to protect a 400,000 hectare rainforest, which had already lost 22% of the forest area along the fringes, and illegal logging, poaching, and degraded land. So the partnership that was stitched together was to have an outer buffer of 38,000 hectares, sustainable rubber plantation, which now has 38 million rubber trees planted. That's the world's largest sustainable rubber plantation now. And then a second buffer of 50,000 hectares of conservation area, bringing back the forest by the Worldwide Fund for Nature. So they're running that. The first tranche was $95 million. We raised it from the Singapore capital markets with help from USAID at that time, what was called the Development Credit Authority, DCA. And we got about 34.6 million first loss guarantee. We took that to Moody's, we got it blended, and we struck, and Moody's gave us a AAA guarantee on degraded land with no recourse to Michelin's books, project finance on a JV. And Michelin didn't want to be identified with the project because they were so worried that it will be a reputational risk to them. It was a 15-year bond. We managed to get it fully funded. That led to another 125 million, and finally the unlocking of the entire $400 million project. It's an amazing success story. Because 5 years later, the 15-year bond was retired by Michelin prematurely. They paid off everybody because now they wanted to own the project. They even bought out their JV partner in Indonesia. Because now it was okay for them to tag their reputation to that project. So that's what the USAID DCA did. And now that they're folded into the DFC, and at that time, of course, OPIC was there, but OPIC wouldn't do business with any non-US business entity. And DCA would do that, but very tiny. And you'll be surprised that when we got that 34.6 million counter guarantee, we were the second largest single project guarantee in the history of USAID DCA. That's how little they did, notwithstanding the fact that it was amazing for us, and I'm still grateful for making that possible, and also proving it to the world that when good people come together, good things happen. And so now I'm sincerely hoping that now that DFC is neither constrained by OPIC's constraints or the size constraints of DCA, it's going to be an amazing player, and that's why I just want to share that, and thank you, because that team is now part of your team, the DCA team. So we're really looking forward to doing things together. We'll move on to our panel conversation now. We have with us amazing leaders from Reckitt, from Beaulieu, UK. We have Charlotte Wright from Beaulieu. Welcome, Charlotte. We of course have Cyril, which is one of the most important leaders at Water Unite. He's our brain trust. He thinks and imagines all these things and pulls things together. So it's amazing to have him here. And then, of course, we have with us Amira, who's CEO at CBEX. And sorry. Oh, okay. So that's all right. So let me start by asking a simple question as to what are your top priorities for sustainability? And just as opening the conversation. So just to open up the conversation, what are your top priorities for sustainability, and why are you doing what you're doing, and why is water so important for you? We can just go. And then if somebody could pass on the microphone, okay, we'll have it. Yeah. No, start from here.
All right. Fabrice Beaulieu, Chief Marketing, Sustainability and Corporate Affairs Officer at Reckitt. Sustainability is fundamental to our business. It's more than risk management. It's also a source of value creation. That's why I handle both marketing and sustainability. It starts with our portfolio of products. We have brands which operate in consumer health and hygiene. We see hygiene as the foundation of health. And you know, our brands, whether Dettol, Eurofin, Vanish, they solve problems, daily problems, and therefore there's probably a natural connection to sustainability if you think of the 17 goals as a to-do list of problems to solve for the world. Every one of our brand actually chooses one SDG, one it thinks it can contribute meaningfully to, and that's been a source of new product invention as well as programs of positive impact creation, and eventually that's what the brand ends up talking about. That's for sustainability. Water in that space is absolutely fundamental. Of course, we use water in our supply chain. We have water in the product design across most of our categories, but 85% of the water used for what we do is at the point of consumer usage. So that's really where our big responsibility lies. And we use a couple of meaningful brands to inspire consumers to water efficient behaviors if and when we can. So that's both sustainability and water for Reckitt. And of course, in that space, you always need to find the most efficient ways to scale.
Thank you. So, Charlotte, what are Elio's top priorities for sustainability?
Okay, so our number one priority right now is our carbon reduction strategy, and within that we have. So we're a food service company. We're contract caterer delivering food to millions of people every day. So we have a big responsibility here around menu design. So thinking about the food that we buy, the sourcing of that food. But also energy efficiencies, utilities efficiencies, water, the creation of food in our kitchens, so the water we're using. And, when you think about it, and for almost, well, everyone really, water is connected to everything that we do. But our priority areas are also driven by our clients. So contract catering is a very competitive business. We are constantly bidding on new business and bidding on existing business, trying to retain those contracts. They're usually 3 to 5, some 7-year contracts. So, we've got thousands of contracts out there. There's always our sales team having to respond to what our clients' needs are. So in those bids, our clients are asking more and more for us to prove what we're doing in these spaces. They're looking at how can we evidence that we're alleviating risks around, I've mentioned climate change, of course, but pollution, reducing waste, water stress. Our clients are very aware, increasingly aware of how sourcing decisions can also contribute towards social value in the supply chain as well. So they're looking for us to be making responsible decisions that can contribute to social mobility, creation of jobs, gender equality. So really all of the topics that we're hearing about here at COP actually is everything that our clients are asking us for now. And, all of these things are interlinked. So I'd say our priority is to think about all of these things in a holistic way. So being smart about what we're doing. Contract catering is quite a low margin business. We don't have a massive team working on these topics, so we have to be clever about the way that we approach them.
But it's a really provocative question. When you are bidding, has anybody, in terms of the tender documents, has anybody really put forward what the metrics in that, okay, it has to be the lowest price, but we want these kind of sustainability things to be bid upon as well. Are you seeing that yet?
Yeah, we are. So often, every client that we work with now is asking for proof on sustainability.
Oh, wonderful.
I would say, the ones that are operating at a higher level, they're breaking that down into all of those topics. So they want to see, how are we working with our suppliers to mitigate water scarcity, water risks. But they're also looking at how, like I said before, the efficiencies within the kitchen, because it's become such a big topic. But and I'm happy to touch on this later, so I don't want to take up too much time at the beginning, but we're seeing like 30% weighting in our bids on sustainability now. It's massive, very different to how it was a few years ago. And in those bids, so think about what we do food service in our client sites.
They're looking at how we can reduce costs for them. They want to see investment in marketing. They want to see food innovation, safety. It's huge to now see 30% waiting there, and that's a real thing all in one.
Thank you. Cyril, why are we doing what we are doing at Waterloo now?
Thanks. We're trying to solve a problem. Largely the problem is that water is becoming a risk. It's one of the most acute effects of climate change. The one that's felt by population, and it's a social risk, the risk of social unrest in society is also a geopolitical risk because of water becoming a scarce resources. It's really going to be a problem. It also is way beyond the traditional approach of WASH, which is providing water to people and treating wastewater out of waterways. It is really a transversal issue going across the entire economy. All the industries are impacted by this. And in a water scarce world, 2030 and beyond, we need to have a radically new approach to water. So what we do in this is we select entrepreneurs. We see entrepreneurs as problem solvers. They're actually problem solutions. Work on issues around the preservation of water, the distribution of water, water security, water poverty, wastewater pollution, etc. And we do that very selectively. We have a team of analysts who are trained to do that. So we have like a target of below 5% on a very large pool of investable opportunities globally, with the global south as a geographic target. It's not just that, we invest companies in the north as well, with their impacts and developments in the global south. And what's different in our fund is that we do that with corporates, because What Unite gives us the opportunity to partner with people like Beaulieu. We have other corporates as well. We want to come in to the fund as senior partners, i.e. senior investors, looking for triple bottom line, a return on financial and the social and the environmental. And they are interesting investors because they're active ones. Classically, venture capital is funded by financial investors, institutional family offices, etc. In our case, and this is very, very rare to find a fund that's actually supported by corporates, we can pull from their resources and support because they are two problem solvers, like that Fabrice mentioned. Those companies are looking at solving problems every day, and with a dedicated attention to, for those who are interested in what we do, joining and bringing synergies with the entrepreneurs, and they are natural partners, of course, working ecosystem together, etc. Increasingly, startups, the entrepreneurship ecosystem is the R&D on the ground for large corporates, so there is real opportunities there. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be sort of active investors pushing, and I will finish with this. We bring capital to these companies, but we bring a lot more. We bring technical assistance. We help them raise money, successfully, travel the valley of death, as we call it, because very often they are stuck into this, missing middle. Trying to raise money is very difficult for them, especially in the global south. But also we bring a lot of support around, operational problems that they have. Sometimes it is sustainability too, because they need to put together a framework by which they measure the impacts. They do impacts naturally. It's not like by accident. It's incorporating a business model. It's fully intentional. The problem solution is really about solving problems around water, environmental, social, etc. So there's plenty of social impacts, and when they grow, the social impacts grow. Let me give you an example, which is a company that's not here today. That's a company called Jibu that's been in existence for 10 years. They pioneered the model of water kiosks in Africa. Now in 8 countries throughout Africa, East, West, they have more than 10 million users buying fresh clean water from them at a price that is absolutely competitive, to the traditional mode of putting water, and distributing water to the public. And this company has fared the first 10 years. They needed patient capital to grow their model to a point where they can break even and increase capital. But they have now just, with our support and support of others, locked up a strategic partnership with a corporate to increase the valuation. And for us, it is a good illustration of a company that grows the number of beneficiaries and grants when they grow, in line with their organic growth, but also the financial returns. Because if you look at our investment in this company in a space of a year and a half, or close to 2 years since we have invested, we're looking at a multiple of 1.7, which is something like 40% annualized return on investment. So we're doing the job as well for investors on that. So that's what we're trying to do successfully.
Wonderful. I think that's a good segue. Fabrice, what are your experiences in scaling?
So we have a few, and I would make a distinction between scaling with people in our markets and scaling with people not in our markets yet. So we have big brands, and for the people in our market, we can leverage the voice of these brands to inspire different behaviors. For instance, around water. 17% of households in the world have a dishwasher. Cleaning the dishes is, even for these people, something which is water wasteful. Almost half the people who have a dishwasher will rinse the plates off before they put them in the machine. That wastes 20 liters every time. If you run the machine 3 times a week, imagine how much water gets wasted over a full year. You're talking literally billions of gallons. So our brand has developed its technology and inspires people over the world to end pre-rinsing. That's for people in the market. For those not in the market yet, we're talking about developing access. And access, we think of with 2 powerful levers. One is social entrepreneurship, and the other one is, of course, innovative financing. Social entrepreneurship, we are very keen on, because we think that a charity dollar has one life, but a dollar provided to a social entrepreneur will have multiple lives over. And that's why we created our own accelerator in the space of wash. We have 21 companies in that incubator today, spanning across 6 markets. We help them scale. They come up with very innovative solutions. They're relevant in their communities. We help them scale. I'll give you one example called Kusini Water. It's a South African startup, and they use macadamia nuts in the process of to build their filters and provide safe water. We pair them with R&D people at Reckitt, and it just helps them strengthen their processes and provide access for more people. Of course, there's innovative finance as well. And here we started to embrace that space this year with a fund called Water Equity, in which we invested $7.5 million from our balance sheet, and that provides commercial returns to us, whilst it helps amazing entrepreneurs all over the world to gain access to financing pretty much the way we think of it. So inspiring behaviors, supporting social entrepreneurs, and innovative financing tools, I think that can provide a lot of traction.
Thank you. Coming to you, Charlotte, why has water become a priority for you this year? And what are you doing? And Scope 3 is a big conversation now around this COP, and I'm sure in the next one, because everybody wants to get to the bottom of that. And how do you make it compulsory for companies to deal with their scope 3, because at this time, it's more or less, goodwill-based scope 3 conversation, but that has to become mandatory, a standard that everybody follows. So you have a lot of suppliers in your supply chain. When you are a catering giant, you have to deal with a lot of them. How do you work with them, in making sure that they are sustainable in the process, because ultimately it affects you?
Yeah, of course it does. So okay, there's a couple of points in there then that I'll touch on. So first of all, water is a priority for us. I've mentioned already that we're food service companies, and we're sourcing food. Food relies on water to grow, of course, but more simplistic than that, we feed and hydrate people. So we're selling bottled water to our customers, and that's quite a timed and emotionally motivating topic. I come at that from the angle of the UK as an example, where we have clean, safe water available from the taps, yet our customers still want to buy bottled water. So a few years ago, we were looking at the topic of water in terms of selling water and whether that's morally the right thing to do. I have my own personal opinions on that. However, we have to be real about it. If we work with our clients on reusable solutions, we're all succeeding, but we're not there yet. So we have to accept that customers want bottled water. We know from experience that in client sites where we've removed it, they will just go and buy bottled water from down the road. So why don't we still sell it in our business, but do good with those sales? So what we decided to do is apply the micro levy model, which means for every bottle of water that we sell or can of water, we work with all brands, and we donate 1 pence to Water Unite. Now, that's not a new concept, of course. We've heard of the micro levy concept before, but we're doing this at company level. We work with all brands, all the big brands of water, as well as some niche brands as well. So regardless of which brands, which our preferred water category provider is in that particular year, we'll always apply the 1p donation. We'll always be donating that to Water Unite. So this works really well for us. I've already mentioned that we're a low margin business, so this is a great answer to coming up with a solution that I can take to my board, which is low impact financially. But what Water Unite do is very clever, because we can donate what we're able to in our low margin business, and Water Unite are able to scale that up. So the impact that they're having is far greater than what we'd be able to do if we was just simply donate that money to charity. So that is really powerful for us in that we can bring stories around addressing water, sanitation, pollution back to our customers, whilst also thinking about the impacts that we have on our scope 3. And there's a trade-off there, basically a positive trade-off, and we're able to tell a story around that. You're absolutely right in what you're saying. Scope 3 is massive. It's 98% of our emissions, and water is one of the top priorities for us in terms of the percentage within our menu design and our food offer to look at where we can bring about change. But as I said before, we have to be real about what we can do. We can't just stop selling it, because it will still be purchased elsewhere. So why don't we drive good? And that's that's basically in essence what we've done with Water Unite.
Thank you. Fabrice, I know you're big in India, Reckitt is big in India, and it is in some markets. And India has the CSR law, that 2% of your profits go to CSR. In some other places, it's up to your goodwill, but in India, it's strict, right? I'm talking
to the families who want it to get equipped with sanitation. So the principle is that microfinance institution will provide a loan, usually around $100, and the family get access to sanitation. That's usually a catalyst for safety, for health, and over time for wealth. 99.3% of the loans get repaid. We helped more than 2 million people in that journey. But we also learn in the process that even if the product existed, even if the microfinancing institution were equipped with the product, capital was still the bottleneck, and demand there completely outstripped the supply. And that's why we started looking into other vehicles, and that's why we joined the Water Equity Fund I alluded to a few minutes ago, together with the DFC and a few other partners. So CSR is a catalyst. I think it will always exist. I hope it will always exist. It can take things off the ground, but there comes a point where other mechanism like impact investment can bring everything on scale and multiply the impact.
Thank you. Thank you. I think it's you rightly framed it that, it can be, it can have small impact if you just deploy the money as a land or as a small project. But if you take that as a catalyst and then deploy it, a big idea of building a virtuous partnership with organizations like Water.org or Qualita, which we did, and health and safety, very well-meaning individuals like they and others are really bringing focus on that conversation. I think CSR can go a very long way. That brings me to you, back to you, Cyril. Given all this, what kind of deals are you seeing? Are you really encouraged and enthused by how the market is turning in terms of deals and possibilities?
Yes, I think we see a marked change now happening in this place where we see more technology applying to water than before. And if you go back 5 to 10 years, people active in water were essentially infrastructure operations with little innovation, low technology. This is changing now because we see the opportunity to include IoT and artificial intelligence. Tahir Mastiri, who's chairman of CBEX, is a good example of that. So he's going to tell us about what it does, and it will be an illustration of this in irrigated agriculture. We see things around micro infrastructure enabled by technology, like for example, pyrolysis to waste management, turning waste, whether solid, liquid, etc., into energy, into organic matters, and fertilizers. So basically making real the promise of circular economy. We see also things in the plastics remediation. Traditionally, it's more like plastics collection and recycling. We are seeing an emergence of plastic substitutes with bioplastics, from biomaterials. 5 years ago, it was interesting but not convincing. Now it is turning the corner. So we see, an increase in the density of technology going into fix these problems, which helps lower the cost of adoption and change the way things are done in a more circular fashion, decentralizing infrastructure, making it more available for more people, and to actually plug the gaps in the market at the moment where, see traditional wash infrastructure as leaving a lot of things behind, especially with rapid urbanization in the global south, etc. So, we see there's a lot of applications cropping up in this as well.
Yeah, indeed. We are building the equivalent of a new Paris every week. That's the scale of the infrastructure that is coming into play, and built infrastructure has always come at the cost of ecological infrastructure. That's what it draws for. It's literally an either-or situation. So as we grow our built infrastructure, that's going to be a challenge. But you also run the water fund. What's been your experience? Coming back to a little more focused, and of course, we talk about the market and what you're seeing in the broader market. But your own experience with partners, with champions, how has it been running the water?
In fact, it's interesting because it touches on what I was saying earlier. Is the way we're led to run this fund is basically as an ecosystem with partners and players. Why? Because of the nature of the participants. So we have donors, we have financial investors, and increasingly corporate investors looking into this. And so, in fact, it's a combination of financial resources that allows us to do things differently. First difference is that we can mix funds together, like in a blended finance approach, to provide more technical assistance that's funded through donors. A lot of corporates are interested in our story, basically put grants to play to help move these companies to up the value chain and accelerate their development. Then we have financial investors as well coming in to bring leverage to all that. And then corporates are also interested in deploying skills, partnering with these companies. So it creates another form of synergy and technical assistance. So that's interesting. And then I think the larger issues around water, we've been able to. This is what the journey we've been traveling in the last 3 years is to go from classic wash to what we call Water Plus, which is a more holistic version of that, with with an ecosystem of players all connected by water through water issues. And I think it's a good moment to say that basically this the Water Impact started as a pilot 3 years ago. We're very satisfied because we have 5 in our investment thesis. We have 5 pillars. We've managed to do 5 investments, each of them filling one of the pillars, and it actually exemplifies or illustrates what we want to do. So now the call for action is to grow out of the pilot phase and accelerate. And luckily, we have financial support coming through to be able to do that. So that's basically on the way to accelerate that first experiment.
Thank you. So I'm coming now to the last of the questions of the panel session. Let me start with Charlotte. How can impact investing and CSR, we heard from Fabrice, we heard from Shrivastava as to how it's all coming together. But in the specific context of your business and that segment of industry, how do you think, can this be a commercial driver of success?
Absolutely, yes. So there's absolutely no question about that for us. I touched earlier on the fact that we, I think I've said this a couple of times now, we're a low margin business, but we have high aspirations in terms of our ESG program. So we really have to find extremely impactful programs, impactful partnerships with the money that we've got to invest here. And I'll be really honest about it. Obviously our conscience is there and it's driving a lot of what we do. But I've talked about our clients, and without evidence on how we're moving things forward, we're simply not going to exist as a business anymore. We have to prove our position. We can't just make promises. We have to show what we're doing across all ESG topics to our clients. So, I've said about being smart, and I'm really serious about that, being smart about how we spend our money, because we have to answer to our clients on all of these topics. So how do we do that? And that really is through partnering with organisations like Water Unite. So if we think about it, the programmes that Water Unite are investing in, they're touching on every topic in some way. And I had the pleasure in seeing some of these projects firsthand earlier this year, and what I was struck by was these individuals, these entrepreneurs who have all of the ideas, they have the expertise and the knowledge on how to tackle these things. They just need investment and support on how to scale up. So if we can take the money that we do have and work with an organisation like Water Unite to drive changes, then really we're in a win-win situation. We can answer to our clients, we can share the positive stories, we can bring the messages back to our customers, in which we do in the form of marketing and social media, but also tell stories, and that creates trust between our clients and us, which then ultimately does support retention of contracts and winning new business as well. So, there's no question about it for me that it is a commercial driver.
And not to overemphasize the fact that when your clients and your customers hear these stories, it encourages them to also act on their own.
Yes, absolutely.
It's an amazing triple bottom line benefit to look at. Coming to you, Fabrice, a few years ago, I used to be the UN's Assistant Secretary General in that capacity. In a conversation, I was talking to the Coke CEO at that time, the Euro's funding team, and it was a very interesting conversation. And of course, it was about plastic markets. Cookie turned over, and my question was. Yes, I mean, as a company, you can be responsible in terms of the water you use, more responsible. That's one level of being a responsible corporate citizen. Another level is to look at the waste, not just the efficient utilization of the resource, but also the waste, and you see how best you can, reuse it, recycle it, so that you're not putting more pressure on the natural resources and people. And even the higher level is, of course, I didn't get an answer to that, is to become a corporate steward. From shareholder economy to move to a stakeholder economy, where you give as much importance to your shareholders' return on capital invested as much as the responsibility of being a responsible member of the community and the society and the country and the world. And of course, they had some things to say, but I wasn't convinced that they were doing something really in that space, the stewardship space. What do you thought about? Can talk with three stewards. How difficult is it?
It's very difficult. That doesn't mean, we shouldn't try hard, and we do. I think you're right to say that there is managing your own footprint. That's one thing, but there's also all the positive impact you can bring, particularly if you play to your own strength. What is a consumer goods company good at? Understanding its market, identifying the problem to solve, creating innovative solution for it, communicating around it, allocating capital to it, scaling it. All these things is what large corporates can bring to that space. And I would summarize by saying we can inspire different behaviors and be good stewards there. That's the power of brands. We can totally support social entrepreneurs, and we can definitely be innovative when it comes to providing financial support. I find your product or your vehicles particularly interesting because they create sustainable, self-supporting solutions. The company gets commercial return, the entrepreneurs benefit from an ability to scale, everybody wins. And that indeed serves all stakeholders as equal.
Thank you. So, if you had a magic wand, looking into the future, what would you like to see in terms of sustainable finance and supporting the water sector and all?
Well, I think, we recently, with a group of people, because I'm also a university teacher, by investing where I created a course in Paris University School, and made a presentation on a pilot basis to understand the impact or the potential impact of blended finance to accelerate impact investing. And we came to the conclusion that if we use the fraction of the philanthropy that's available in the world today, we could demultiply impact investing by a factor of 5 to 8, which would be exactly what's needed to help. First of all, philanthropists become more engaged and involved in something that's going to be more transformative for them. And the success of venture philanthropy comes precisely from that. The fact that what's a dollar given versus a dollar that's landed to a social enterprise can repay, it's actually the same dollar will take several times. So there's a high efficiency when you use effective things. It can also protect private capital and hence provide leverage, and that's how we can achieve that multiple. But really, it is impact investing is the only space where you can do that. which is why we should do it in order to accelerate entrepreneurs. Yeah. And I mentioned earlier the example of these water kiosk company that has basically set the trail for others to follow. Now the first global pioneer works. 10 years to do it. That means they need patient capital to do that. And every single entrepreneur we work with, they are more or less in that same sort of trend. They need patient capital to be able to achieve scale. The faster we can do that, help them achieve scale, the better we all are for the sake of the common good around, the risks that I mentioned earlier, around water and climate. So I think this is my magic wand, is to say, okay, let's do that. We ourselves are setting a pilot to actually help understand how it works and to have tested things practically. The entrepreneurs do the same, the partners do the same, etc. So if we could demultiply that experiment, this is what I would like to achieve.
Thank you. I think we'll stop here with the panel, but I would request the panels to stay where they are. We'll now invite Tahir Mistri to talk to us a little bit about the entrepreneurial journey of CBEX. You want to come here? It might be easier. And so, and after that, we will have a Q&A. And then
Thank you very much. CBEX is an agtech. We are working on precision irrigation. So it's a project that started, let's say, 7 years ago. And the idea was, classically, to deploy sensors to help farmers to take the right decisions. And we deployed some pilot sites, and we got very interesting farmers' feedbacks. And one of them was very interesting. He said, guys, I see a lot of technology. That's wonderful. But, I need only answers to a couple of questions. I need to know, day by day, should I irrigate today? And if I should irrigate, how much? That's what I want to do. And it was like an electro shock for us. It's like, okay, guys, we need to think about this. And it was a complete change in our strategy. And I'm coming from a country, one of the most arid countries in the world, which is Tunisia, and it's in the north of Africa. And we have seen a lot of people struggling because the water unavailability, but at the same time, we have seen a lot of people that were using the water available in the ground, in the soil, in the undersoil, massively, and without any kind of, let's say, idea if they are doing things good or wrong. Well, to be able to see if what this guy has done during the season was good or wrong, they have to wait until the end of the season and see the yield. And these farmers, what they think about when they were irrigating during the season is that the more water you put on the ground, the better you will have in terms of yield, in terms of quality, and so on. But it never works. And I remember I was with my co-founder, Emira, in the middle of nowhere in Tunisia with 17 farmers around in a very small coffee shop. And they asked us this question. They say, we will be talking, frankly, there's people here that were irrigating more than they should. The others have not got enough water to irrigate. And at the end, we were all losing. So how can you, why? And that question, let's take the number of farmers globally. And let's take how complex is this irrigation and this decision making and the impact on the supply chains, on the water usage, and that's huge. And that's why we said, okay, in CBEX, we need to build a solution that is highly scalable to be able to help all these farmers globally. Because this farmer, when he gets a good yield, this profit, what is used for? It's used for food, it's used for health, it's used for the children's education, and to get another capital to be able to go for or to run for another season. So if we don't find a way to build a solution that is highly scalable, we will never be able to help all these farmers. And when we say highly scalable, it cannot be hardware-based. So we built an AI-based sensorless precision irrigation solution that gives only these couple of answers for the farmer, but at scale. And by doing this, personally, I have been working with IFC and I have been working on digitizing agri-value chains. And I have seen many agribusinesses working on reinforcing the capacities of the farmers. Why they are doing this? Because they need to stabilize their supply chain. So irrigation, water in agriculture is the intersection of multiple interests. The farmer interest, the agribusiness, the need of the agri-value chain, the nature, and all these actors are concerned. And what we offer for these agribusinesses is a way to reinforce the capacities of the farmers at scale, but at the same time, we are able to aggregate a huge amount of data, satellite data, weather data, contextualized data, that will give them insights day by day, but also we can build year after year a way to predict the end of the season. Even if I know that weather is very complex to predict, but at least we have trends. And I love this quote when it says, "If there is no measurement, there is no improvement." So if we don't build a database today to be able to predict the end of the seasons, to be able to reinforce the capacities of the farmers, we will not be able to do it tomorrow, because tomorrow it will be too late. If I mention that by 2040 there will not be enough water for everyone on Earth, we have already a big problem. So it's time to start to think about water footprint. Many people yesterday or these last years has not been concerned about the water, but like in places or in countries like in France, where we are based today, when we find that the consumers at the end of the month or during the drought or during the summer, they don't have enough water because they reached the 0 hour. The 0 hour that has been reached in Cape Town 5 years ago, we start to know that there is a huge problem. And these people, these consumers that start to worry about their water, they start to think about how responsible is this water is used globally. And that's where the brands are today concerned about, showing how responsible they are in using the water for growing, because without water there is no agriculture, there is no food. And so we have to deal with this. We have to deal with this responsibly. Irrigation complexity is not the only problem. Today, there is at least triple problems for the farmers. And when it's a problem for the farmer, it's a problem for the whole agri-value chain. So there is the irrigation complexity, there is the climate change, because some farmers, they try things year after year, and when irrigation works for a year, they think that this is the right doses and this is the right way to irrigate, because they don't have tools to gather data, to apply models, to take the right decisions. So climate change is changing the way. There will be no 2 years that have exactly the same parameters. It's impossible. So this is adding complexity. Water scarcity is adding complexity. And now, to be able to answer or to be able to build our platform, we got access and we are working with multiple partners, because there is multiple micro components in this decision-making process. We are getting soil informations. We are getting crops informations. We are getting weather informations, and so on and so forth. Today, it's a huge opportunity for all of us to build something hand in hand with the head of agri-value chains, where we concentrate the data. It's like a consortium where we work all together to build the needed database to be able to scale more accurately and widely the right decision making in agriculture and irrigation. And it's time to do it because everyone is concerned. If farmers don't take the right decisions, there will be not enough yield. And this is a huge problem for the supply chain. And other than the problems of the supply chain, we are talking about the responsibility of all these brands. So, water footprint, we need to start talking about this today. Just to give some references for Cibex. In France, we offered a partnership to the Chamber of Agriculture. Chamber of Agriculture in France, they have been using, or they built an irrigation decision support system in 2005. But technology is not their core. Okay, I'm trying to find the right political word to say it. But I mean, they are not able to sustain the development of this tool. So we already developed our platform. We offer them a partnership. They can bring 30 years database of crops, and we built together a platform called Netirig by Cibex, and we replaced the tool of the Chambers of Agriculture by our platform. And it's called Netirig by Cibex, and actually is deployed. In the first year of launch, we doubled the number of users of the old version they have. In only 1 year, without any branding, without any marketing. Why? Because a lot of farmers are concerned about the way to take the right decisions, but they are not able to buy sensors, and it's not scalable. So we are doing the same thing, but the supply chain approach in Tunisia, the tomatoes, 1,800 farmers. We are building with an industrial, because industrials, they have contracts with the farmers to buy their yield at the end of the season. They provide them with everything they need, everything today, but not an irrigation support system. And when we talk about Tunisia, this country where there is all these problems of water, and we don't use wisely the water available or still available, it's a huge problem for them. And they told us, today we have big problems because actually there is whole areas, regions where we can't grow tomatoes anymore. So we need to use water responsibly, and we at Cibex will be helping them to use this water responsibly. So I would like to use this this time to ask if there is anyone that is willing to join us in this initiative. You are welcome. We can build together a highly scalable irrigation decision support system that can help every one of the agri-value chain to take the right decisions.
Thank you so much. That was concise and very informative. I'm sure those in the audience, and of course it's being recorded, and then those that will get to listen to the conversation will be quite enthused by that. But I just there are a few things that really stood out. I think the most important thing is that a lot of the waste that we indulge in is actually driven by ignorance rather than malice. We're really not, we don't go out there, oh, I'm going to waste all this water. We go out and waste all that water because we are either plain stupid or we are ignorant. And in this context, I'm going to share a little example. We talked about, you could say, billions of gallons of water if you are responsible. I was then 16 or 17, I was starting to shave, becoming a man. And it's very exciting, the first time you shave. So I went and I opened the tap and putting it. And then so my mother watched me for a bit. She brought 3 big buckets, 20 liters each. So she kept collecting the water. I thought maybe she needs it for gardening or something. I kept doing what I was doing. So the next morning, she comes and she gives me a little mug, some warm water, and he said, "You could just turn it in there and then shave and you'll be fine." So, and then she told me that's half a liter of water. but the water runoff was 62 liters that you didn't use because you only use that. That's all you needed. So that happened, and then of course, my behavior changed because my stupidity was well addressed by my mother, and then I had the information I needed. So recently, my daughter, who's training to be a scientist at Johns Hopkins, very sharp mind, at least 20 times sharper than mine at her age. She asked me, you go around being an environmental activist and this and that. What is the most important thing you've done? A thing of consequence. And I could only go back. I mean, there's a lot of things we do, but in concrete terms, I had to go back to 17, and I'm past 60 now. And so that was 43 years ago. And so she did a quick back of the napkin calculation. She said, Dad, you've saved 1 million liters of water, fresh water. I said, yes, I have. So that's the consequence. And so thank you for what you're doing. Because that's what can really change. The problem created by 8 billion people can't be solved by a few governments and a few corporates. They certainly can help, but they're not going to solve the problem. The problem ultimately, they can create tools, but somebody will have to use those tools. They can create opportunities, but somebody will have to see the opportunity for the true value they bring and put their money and their time and their efforts into it. So I think that's very powerful. Whether you imagine creatively, as Cyril does, in running a water fund or bringing partners together, or finding a new way of charity, as Eliot does. It may be 1 pence, but together it's very powerful as it comes together. Or what Reckitt does, think very differently, both in terms of what they can do internally and also being a corporate steward, which other corporates of their size and scale can learn from. And CBEX, of course, which is completely focused on sustainability and using the resources the way we should. That brings me to the question and answer. So we have 4 very knowledgeable people sitting here. So if you have any specific questions that you would like them to address, please raise your hand, identify yourself, and my friend Akanksha is going to bring you a microphone. Our friend there in the yellow dress. Hello, you keep that.
Good afternoon. My name is Nkolola Halwindi. I'm from Zambia. I represent women in agriculture. I'm a practicing farmer. I live on the farm. That side of the world, we have different issues when it comes to water. I know it may sound like I'm exaggerating, but we really have different issues there. I live amid rural women. The organization that I lead, we have about 350,000 rural women who are members for this organization. And these are scattered all over the country. 2 things that we face as a country. We are actually host to about 40% of the waters in the region. So our problem is not lack. Our problem is how to efficiently use that water. With the corporate concerns are not that people should sufficiently use the water or, reduce on how to use it. The problem that these individual households as well as small-scale farmers is having access to that water. When they have their own means of access to the water, it will be borehole, access to the water, because most of the governments that side do not have that much capacity to give people piped water, which can be controlled. Now, in terms of knowledge, these farmers need to be supported with the knowledge on how best to use that water, and the irrigation systems that they have access to must be much more affordable. If you have to transition these farmers to much more user-friendly irrigation systems. It means that these irrigation systems must be cheaper than the ones that use water carelessly. I'll give another example. When we the farmers are on the ground and have to use irrigation, what other methods or crops can we have on the farm? I'll give a personal example. I grow bananas as well as the next commercial farmer who grows bananas and sugarcane. For his field, he gets those leaves or residues from the sugarcane into the banana plantation so that they only water twice a week. In my case, I don't have a banana plantation to get those leaves and put in the banana field. Because of that, I have to water 3 times a week or every second day. That means naturally my neighbor only waters 8 times in a month. I water 15 times in the month. For the same crop, probably even his yield will be much better. How then do we synchronize this kind of mechanism to make sure that it's a win-win? If you introduce me to other much more user-friendly systems, I'll have to start looking at the cost of my, input
Thank you.
for me to purchase
Thank
that.
you.
How do we then synchronize that?
Thank you. How do you want to address that?
Thank you very much. I perfectly know what you are talking about because I have been in Malawi and I have seen the very traditional way to extract water, and I know that in Africa there is multiple ways to use the water, multiple ways to irrigate, but you have talked about something that is curious for me. I mean, you said cost, and I would not use this term. I would say return on investment. Water irrigation is not about cost. It's about return on investment. And the win-win situation. In irrigation, we don't speak about over-irrigation or under-irrigation at their own. We speak about irrigation inefficiencies. And irrigation inefficiency, it's about when you over-irrigate and when you under-irrigate. In both cases, the farmer will be losing yield, quality, soil health, plant health, etc., etc. So the first one that is concerned by investing in irrigation is the farmer. Because the farmer, if he takes the right decisions, he will be the first winner. But contexts are different. When you talk about these two fields that have different configurations, this is what I'm talking about in terms of irrigation complexity. And this is what we are taking in consideration in our classroom. And there is so many details that we need to dig into in every single component that it's a huge work. And that's why I said today it's an opportunity to build something together, a way to reinforce the capacities of the rural women. Now, I have been working with the World Bank Group on between 2017 and 2019. I reinforced the capacities of the rural women in Tunisia. It was about agriculture, but not only this. A huge number of things, where rural women are bringing value. And I have seen these rural women, what they are doing. And it's wonderful. And it's very important to reinforce their capacities. But the idea is, how can we reinforce their capacities at scale? This is what we can do to help you, but we need to build it together. 350,000 different environments, different crops, different species, different configurations. So it's a huge work, but it's about the sustainability of agriculture. It's about the sustainable development of these communities. As I mentioned, when I was in Malawi, I mean, there was communities of women that are dealing with all the finances of multiple villages, all the savings of people. They are giving them to these women, and these women are taking the right decisions to make it profitable, and it's wonderful. It's working. So honestly, personally, I believe in the capacity of women to bring value to develop the communities because they are anchors in their local communities. So yeah, let's maybe, if you want, we can work together and reinforce their capacities.
I think the concept of cost is grossly misunderstood as an economic concept, and that is because it's interesting because uh, Adam Smith, they're about to celebrate his first centenary, 300 years, and every industry has changed, every concept has been challenged and changed, but that particular thing hasn't changed much. 300 years. It needs to change. The whole ground economy model. We have to look at costs. What are the real costs? The true cost. What is the true cost of agriculture? It's not always, we don't want to pay the municipal corporation the right cost for supplied water, but when water runs out, we are happy to pay hundreds of dollars to some water tanker that comes by to give us water because that's an avoided cost. And we're happy to do that. And so all our decision making processes as humans, sometimes it's very important to look at. Of course, I fully agree with you that when these are poor farmers, they simply can't afford it. If you're talking about the individual, but how do you look at the whole mass of 350,000 farmers that are part of your network, and then can we create a business model? There are a lot of these models at play, where actually, if you can uh, be sustainable, there are actually investors and donors that are willing to these. They're called SDG bonds. You produce an impact, somebody puts in the money. If you produce the impact you promised, you don't have to pay back because the SDG impact has been achieved, and that has been tried successfully in many contexts. So maybe it is an opportunity to try and look at that. Cyril, I think you might have some insights on it.
Just to build up on Tahir answer, very good, and he knows the topic much better than I do. But I'm very moved by your testimony. I think I want to add this is that one of the reasons actually we support CBEX is that there is potential to actually put in place collaborators in industry verticals, food industries. For example, the example that Tahir, you mentioned in the tomato in Tunisia, and everything is like this, right? Where aggregation of data, information, enhanced intelligence is interesting because it's pushed down to the farmers. And suddenly it's not just about irrigation, it's also about education of farmers on best agricultural practices to actually help you guys do your work on the ground. Okay? Because the water reserve is basically the soil. And if the soil is overused, overworked, sometimes over-irrigated, the yields go down, and even more importantly, the topsoil gets depleted, and that's it. Okay, so there's been a lot of mistakes, a lot of errors in the green revolution that we're coming back from today, and it's to give power back down to the farmers, to the people on the ground, that we can get this sorted. Many other examples exist with in the food industry, with, for example, Mars Food, Danone, Nestle, Unilever. They do experiments where big data, blockchain, enables them to actually have a direct relationship with the farmers. They do that in sort of very narrow verticals like the vanilla, the cocoa, coffee, but it can be working in some larger verticals like with larger staples like rice, etc. Where because of removing the intermediaries, being possible, the value chain becomes more balanced. Some of the value can go back down to the farmers, and because they have this direct relationship through applications, data aggregation, they can help these guys build up their agricultural practices. It even goes as far as putting together NFTs where there's
through the blockchain. It's basically a crypto means of payments to provide farmers with something different from classic, basically they borrow to repay, and so I've seen this in practice with a number of very successful agri startups, and it makes us very hopeful that we can progressively solve these problems.
Thank you. Unless there are any other questions, okay. You also want a question, so we'll do two more and then
I came late, but because I'm a farmer, I have something to share. My name is Philip.
kindly keep it brief.
Yes, I'm Philip. I come from Uganda. Right now, we have been under the El Nino episodes, and the capacity of our farmers to have community-led initiatives to store the water is the challenge. Now, after El Nino, we shall experience La Nina. We shall have poor yields because we don't have any capacity to store the runoff. What could be the practical community-led initiatives we would really look at in case we have those episodes so that we can store water for irrigation?
Thank you. Please.
Thank you very much. And what you are mentioning here is the perfect example of the climate change, and how sudden is this climate change. While we have seen this coming from the last 30 to 40 years. Now, what to do? Farmers on their own, it's very difficult to build, let's say, express answers to these problems. But capital is needed here. And capital, it's a win-win situation. I mean, let's consider agri-businesses and agri-value chains. And the agri-value chains, if we start building with the heads of agri-value chains, the heads of agri-value chains have the capital and have the capacity to reinforce the farmers. And why they are doing this? Because they are also impacted by the poor yield. So it's all about structuring this agri-value chain, and it's all about bringing all these actors around the table and discuss what can we do and what can be the gain for every one of them. And I'm sure that this can be an express solution, and it will be a win-win solution for everyone. So this is my very short insight about this.
Thank you. Please.
Thank you. My name is Kate Nemanya. I do work with Water for People. We do have programs in Malawi, Rwanda, Uganda, Tanzania, and in there we have supported a number of small enterprises to start up. And we've caused crowding in, I could say, but one of the challenges these businesses have is financing due to they're quite small. If you compare them to the examples you are giving, like Jibu, they're quite small but very impactful. Some of them, yes, you do support them, but they might not have the spreadsheets that others do have. And I was wondering, looking at scale and looking at some financing opportunities that are out there, how could we support such a growth? Because if you look at the informal settlements, these businesses, I don't see them really changing the way they do work, but these very colleagues that they see where the money comes. They are making money, but they are really limited in terms of accessing possible financing out there, but they have lots of potential.
Okay. Sarah, you want to? Any one of you, please.
Yeah, I know very, very well what you are talking about. because at your own, I don't think that it's highly scalable to support all these farmers. But if we take what the IFC is doing, it's very, very interesting. And this is what we are doing in digitizing agri-value chains. I have been working on cacao in Ivory Coast, I've been working on millet in Senegal. And the idea is to create a profile of these farmers in the banking system. Because banks are the major financer, but the problem for banks is they don't have any idea about how the risk of giving credits to the farmers. So without this visibility, they are not able to trust the farmers. They are not able to support the farmers or to give credits for the farmers. And it's all about data. When we talk about the risk, de-risking, equal data. If you have data, you can de-risk. You have information. If you have enough information, you can take risk. If you don't have enough information, you cannot take risk. And today, this information is not available. And if we take Malawi, the number of people that are completely excluded from the financial system is just huge. And we need to bring them into the financial system to be able to give them possibility to access credits, And, I mean, what the IFC and what I have been doing with the IFC is bringing this head of supply chain to the table, and instead of having a head of supply chain that is financing the whole agri-value chain, we are supporting this head of agri-value chain to guarantee, instead of financing, guarantee the credits that will be given to the farmers. So this can create much better cash flow for him, it creates an identity for the farmers, and it creates a win-win situation that is highly scalable. And this is what I can advise you can do.
Thank you. Sally, last word.
Just 2 words on that as well. I think last mile solutions, working with applications enabling people to set up a profile on a pay-as-you-go, have been very effective to plug the financial gap for farmers and others. Because, yes, the data enables to actually profile the risk for these people. We've seen that in, for example, solar, where there is a risk analysis individually made on people based on predictive behavior, which is not based on historical financial. The banking system only works on historical financial information. If you don't bank, you don't exist. The rate of banking amongst the population in general in many countries in Sub-Saharan Africa is less than 10%, because the banking sector, commercial banking sector that is actually not designed for that. It's mostly designed to manage non-performing loans, to be honest. Okay, so this is solved by last mile solutions, basically creating profiles, enabling, and as soon as you enter a profile into whether it's pay-as-you-go or anything else that enables you to work, like for example a system like I mentioned earlier, you bank, because this gives you a way to execute payments or receive money. The infrastructure, the telecom infrastructure is there for that to happen, especially in East Africa, where thanks to Vodafone and M-Pesa. And so the model is well known now, it works throughout. We're going to see this kind of scaling up in larger population.
Thank you. And thank you to our magnificent panelists for a very engaging conversation. I'm sure our audience will take away insights that will both encourage them and help them to be more imaginative in terms of their own opportunities that we don't see. Sometimes, there's this wonderful saying that the eyes do not see what the mind does not know. And so, to the extent we are better informed, we can do better things. And let me close this by saying that, or further echoing what has been said already, is that you can't manage what you don't measure. because it's only when you measure you know where the challenges are and what kind of interventions could properly address those challenges in a meaningful way. So I think with that, I would like to thank all of you for a very engaging session, and I look forward to working together with all of you in the audience, on the podium, because the planet can ill afford small ambitions. We really have to do things at scale, because time is really running out on us, and I can't say this with any greater emphasis. I'm losing my voice because I've been shouting around in different fora. We really are running out of time.